Fred Katz published an article talking about some players that the Knicks could target in the free agency market, and I'm here to break it all down. All that and much more on the Knicks Digest. What's up, guys? It's your boy Dariel from Knicks Digest. So, Fred Katz published an article for The Athletic, and the name of the article is 10 Players Knicks Could Sign with Mid-Level Exceptions. And one of the names that I want to specifically talk about, now for some of you guys, for the viewers, for the listeners, for the fans, Knicks fans, this name is not going to sound sexy. This name is not going to pop out at you right away. But let me break it down for you. I'm talking about Kevon Looney from the Golden State Warriors. All right, now Kevon Looney, I get it. He's not, like I said earlier, he's not a sexy name. He's not super athletic. He's not going to pop out at you with the numbers and the stats from the stat sheet. But what Kevon Looney can bring to a team is invaluable experience. He is a 3-time NBA champion. So all of that knowledge that he'd be able to bring to the Knicks, giving game to Brunson, Hart, Dante, Julius Randle, like that's going to be invaluable. I should preface by saying the only way that we would be able to get Kevon Looney is if one of our worst nightmares comes true. And that is if Isaiah Hartenstein leaves. And if he does leave, he's basically going to be leaving the Knicks for more money. Can you blame the guy? I mean, at this point in his career, he's proven to be a starting center. But for most of his career, if not all of it, he's been a backup center. So, I mean, I don't know if I could really blame him. Obviously, I want to keep him. But if he leaves for the money, like I just said, I don't know if I could blame him. But Kevon Looney, man. So if we take a look at his numbers for last season, he played in 74 games. Yeah, 4.5 points. Like I said, the number's not going to jump out at you. He averaged 5.7 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and converting 59.7% from the field. He definitely doesn't take three-pointers, so we're not even going to take a look at that. Converting 67.5% from free throw land. So that number could definitely get better. Now, the thing with Kevon Looney is coming into the league, I believe he had multiple hip surgeries. So that's definitely something that we got to take into account. But what Kevon Looney is going to be able to bring to a team, like I said earlier, is that invaluable experience. He is somebody that knows his role, and you can say that he's an all-star in his role. So now you want to ask me, what is Kevon Looney's role? So with the Golden State Warriors, he's basically the hustle guy. He is basically the one that's getting everybody else open. He is the one going in there for the rebounds, getting the putbacks, setting the good screens, rolling to the basket, just making the game so much easier for Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Now, this past season, Kevon Looney actually finished 10th in the NBA in offensive rebounding. And like I said earlier, he may not even hit the open market. So right now, he's under contract for next season. But there was an article published on The Athletic by Tim Kawakami, I believe if I'm pronouncing his name right, saying that the Golden State Warriors actually might release him. And the reason why they might release him is to save money, which, man, that's kind of brutal, man. Kevon Looney, like I said earlier, he's part of the 3 championship teams with the Golden State Warriors. And the most recent one, when they won against Boston, you could say that he was maybe, the second, maybe not second, but maybe the 3rd most important player on that team. Klay was just coming back from an injury. I mean, Draymond was there with Steph. So Draymond, you probably could say he was the 2nd most important player. And then that 3rd slot, it might be between Andrew Wiggins and Kevon Looney. But I remember in that playoff run in the first round where they played against the Sacramento Kings and it went to Game 7, Steph Curry went ballistic. He dropped a 50 burger ball. But Kevon Looney was absolutely dominating the whole series, and he was babying Domantas Sabonis. He was actually getting rebounds as if he was possessed by a demon. So for the Golden State Warriors to basically waive Kevon Looney to try and save money, like, damn, that's going to be super grimy. That's going to be super dirty. But listen, man, the NBA is a business. But less than half of Looney's $8 million salary contract is guaranteed in the 2024-2025 season. So if the Warriors let him go and if the Knicks lose Hartenstein, the backup plan, which would be Kevon Looney, that might be perfect, man. Isaiah Hartenstein, the one thing that he has over Kevon Looney is he has a little bit more of an offensive game. He has that mid-range floater. But other than that, Isaiah Hartenstein, he can rebound. Kevon Looney is known as one of the better rebounders in the league. Can Isaiah Hartenstein create for himself? Yes. Can Kevon Looney create for himself? Yes, even though he hasn't been able to really demonstrate that with the Golden State Warriors offense because that's just not his role. But if you go back into Kevon Looney's career, and I'm talking about pre-pro, I'm talking about when he was in high school. He was one of the most sought-after players from high school, and he was a guard before he hit his growth spurt. So he has that ball handling capability, and like I said, he's able to create plays for himself. Now, again, with the Golden State Warriors, that's not his role. That's not one of the things that the Warriors depend on him to do. But if he's in a position where he has to show us, he can do that. So as far as Hartenstein being able to create plays, Kevon Looney can do that. As far as Hartenstein being the main rebounder or one of the better rebounders in the league, Kevon Looney is considered one of the better rebounders in the league. As far as setting up plays for everybody else, which Isaiah Hartenstein is immaculate at, doing that for Jalen Brunson, doing that for Dante DiVincenzo, Kevon Looney played with Steph Curry for a majority of his career. Most of his career, he was setting up plays, setting screens, setting back screens for Steph Curry, who is one of, if not the best shooter of all time. And the only way Steph Curry was going to be able to get those shots off was Kevon Looney setting the screens. So obviously, I don't want Hartenstein to leave the Knicks, but if he leaves the Knicks, and more than likely it'll probably be OKC, San Antonio, Detroit, teams that have the money that's going to be able to sign him, and some of those teams are in dire need of help. So if Hartenstein leaves and Kevon Looney is the one that we pick up, that'll be a pretty nice pickup. Now, of course, like I said earlier in the video, Kevon Looney has had multiple hip surgeries. So that's something we do have to take into account. And with this recent report saying how the Golden State Warriors might waive Kevon Looney, they're saying it's because of taxes. But one has to wonder, is it because of the injuries as well? Is it catching up to him? Now, in the article, it also mentions a bunch of other players that the Knicks could target with the mid-level exception. The article talks about Tyus Jones from the Wizards, talks about Derrick Jones Jr., who's in the finals right now, going up against Boston, who has not had a good series, and it looks like they're about to get swept. Talking about Royce O'Neal from the Phoenix Suns. When the Phoenix Suns made that trade at the trade deadline, picking up Royce O'Neal, everybody thought that was a great pickup, but Royce O'Neal kind of didn't really provide anything, which led the Suns getting swept by the Minnesota Timberwolves. The article also mentions Monte Morris, also mentions Kyle Anderson, Kyle Lowry, Gordon Hayward, Jonas Valanciunas. Now, Jonas Valanciunas is pretty interesting as well because this, again, is under the pretenses if Isaiah Hartenstein leaves. If Hartenstein leaves, me personally, I would actually like Kevon Looney to replace him, but Jonas Valanciunas definitely intrigues me. It's interesting too because in today's NBA where everything is a three-point shot or if it's at the rim, Jonas Valanciunas is such an old school basketball player. His main offensive game is his back to the basket, but he has proven to show everybody that he can step away from the basket, hit that mid-range shot, and he's also able to hit the three-pointer. But again, what Jonas Valanciunas' bread and butter is that back to the basket game, post-up moves, the jump hook, the baby hook. And again, if Hartenstein leaves, we're going to be depending on Mitchell Robinson, who, like I said in the previous video, is pretty much an injury-prone player now. So who are we going to have in that big man spot? Kevon Looney is listed as a center and power forward, so he's going to be able to slide into that slot. Jonas Valanciunas is a primary center, so again, he'll be able to slide into that slot. Other name out of all the names that I just listed, Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson is one that I'm very interested in. Now, it looks like the Minnesota Timberwolves, they just might not be able to afford him. Kyle Anderson is definitely another player that I'm interested in and keeping my eye on. Now, it just looks like the Minnesota Timberwolves just might not be able to afford him because he's probably going to be commanding too much money. But Kyle Anderson, something that people don't talk about is his basketball IQ. Now, I know that his offensive game is so ugly. I got to say it's ugly. Like, his shot is so gross. But one thing that I saw, even though they lost in 5 games to Dallas, I think it was in the only game that they won. Kyle Anderson showed me his basketball IQ is off the charts. There was a play where Karl Anthony Towns, he had his offensive game going and he had the hot hand. And Kyle Anderson, he set a back pick towards the player that was defending Karl Anthony Towns. And it was just one of the more smarter plays that I've seen anybody from the Minnesota Timberwolves do. And Kyle Anderson, he's more of a glue guy. He's more of a player that's going to make sure that everybody is in the right position. He puts everybody in the right place. He puts everybody in the places to succeed. And Kyle Anderson is another ball handler. He's another person that could run the offense. Now, as far as where in the list Kyle Anderson lies, as far as like players that I'm really keeping an eye on, if Isaiah Hartenstein leaves, he'll probably be third behind Kevon Looney would be number 1, Jonas Valanciunas would be number 2, and Kyle Anderson will be number 3. But I don't think Kyle Anderson gets enough respect for his basketball IQ. I think his offensive game and his shot in particular just overshadows his basketball IQ because it's so nasty. But going back to Kevon Looney, guys, if Isaiah Hartenstein leaves the team, which would be one of the worst days in Knicks history, Kevon Looney would be a great backup option. Like I said in the beginning of this video, Kevon Looney's championship experience, what he's going to be able to do for Jalen Brunson, the game that he's going to be able to give Brunson and Julius Randle and OG Anunoby, the 3 best players on our team. Some people might argue Dante DiVincenzo. I'm not going to argue that. But Kevon Looney, and also playing with Steph Curry and Clay and Dre, probably the best three-man tandem that we've had within the last, 10 to 15 years. Stories that he's going to be able to impart on the Knicks roster, on the Knicks team, and telling them what it takes to win, the sacrifices you have to make, which if Kevon Looney comes to the Knicks, I know a lot of things have to happen first. But as far as the sacrifices and the stories that he can tell the Knicks players, I really think that might help Julius Randle. He's already accepted that number 2 option, that number 2 role on the team. But I just feel like coming from someone who played with Steph Curry all the time, Klay Thompson all the time, Draymond Green all the time, I feel like it would probably make an even more impact on Julius Randle. But guys, that's it for today's video. I want to say thank you for checking it out. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you guys think about Fred Katz's article on The Athletic talking about all the different players that the Knicks could be targeting with the mid-level exception. And let me know in the comments about what I said about Kevon Looney. Would you guys be okay with Kevon Looney being picked up by the Knicks and inserting him in that slot? But until next time, guys, you know the drill, you know the vibes. Jalen Brunson for all the MVPs. Jalen Brunson for the MVP with that Taylor Rooks interview. Jalen Brunson for the MVP with that Roommates podcast episode with Tibbs. The deuce is loose. And Taj Gibson for president wherever you are. And until next time, I'll check you on the next video. Peace.